voice. So, if it's okay
Okay,
with you, can you just like
coming through.
rephrase my question after I ask it?
Oh, okay.
Okay, thank you. Now, one more small little thing is that now the page with all my questions on it isn't loading. But I guess while it is, I can still ask you the
I'm
ones
going
that
to
I
have
remember.
questions for you too, but you don't have to rephrase them. But just so I know exactly where you're coming from as a student and where you are with your learning about
Okay.
uh, CG and animation too, I'm curious.
So, what made you want to become an animator in the first place?
Well, I graduated high school in '93.
Hmm.
I left and I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew I wanted to do something creative. But I didn't know about CG animation just yet. And then while I was doing that, suddenly Toy Story came out and then Jurassic Park. And then I thought, that's what I want to do. That is the shit right there. So those are the two main motivators back in 93, 94, 95. Um, I knew I didn't want to do business shit. I didn't want to work in um, anything technical on anyway, boring stuff. So those are the motivators. So that's what motivated me, and I wanted to do animation
Yeah.
because Jurassic Park was pretty much the instigator that did it all.
Okay.
You probably were all of like how old when Jurassic Park came out? That was I think was the '94.
I was not even thought to be conceived yet.
All right,
Um,
but yes,
what was the first thing you ever animated?
um, it was actually a bat that I had to animate. I got an internship in Australia
Hmm.
at a company called Photon Stockman. I'm pretty sure they're not around anymore, but I'm not 100%. But I had to animate a bat, so I had to look at a lot of footage of how they flew and how they worked and how they moved. But my first movie. So just give you a little background.
Hmm.
In Australia, we don't get to. It's a smaller um, field of work, and we work on television shows and TV movies and commercials. I got headhunted to come and work on Scooby Doo, the movie, um, by a brilliant animation director called Leon Jewson. And after that, that's all I cared about. I wanted to come over to America, just like a sports person, because America is where it's where everything is. That's where you go to sell your dreams, right?
Yeah.
And then I worked on the Matrix 2 and 3 in San Francisco. But Scooby Doo, working on a dog, was my first movie that I got pulled over to work in America, and that started everything for me in the end. So yeah,
Um, first program you ever used to animate? I don't know if that would have been the term for it.
oh, that's a good question. You might not have heard of them. Power Animator was definitely one. Softimage before it dissolved and became its other company and went away, but 3D Studio Release 4. That was my first 3D software that I ever used, and I was at a community college
Hmm.
because when I left high school, I knew I wanted to do something creative, and there was no one doing any CG shit. I don't know, pardon my,
I don't care.
I swear a lot.
I'm just trying
Okay,
not to
I don't
swear
have
so
to
that my
record
teacher
it,
doesn't
but
like
anyway,
tag me
a
in
lot
it.
of 3D shit. So 3D Studio Release 4, it was a disaster, but it was still, that's what we had. And when I went to college too, none of the teachers knew how to do any of this stuff. We didn't even have any books on it. So I was pretty much had to just self teach. be honest. I'm mostly self-taught. I know these days there's a lot more like Gnomon Studios. There's a lot more things out there where opportunities to be educated. But when I first started, there was not much of that. And you had to just work it out yourself. So I'm coming from that generation.
What was your favorite project? Like out of everything you've ever done, what was your favorite thing to animate?
I would say probably the Sentinels for Matrix Revolutions, and a close second is probably Hulk, Ed Norton Hulk, the second one.
Yeah, I saw that in your little slideshow.
Oh, cool,
Yeah,
cool.
the
Yeah,
animation.
that was definitely fun. And also, to be honest, uh, Lion Witch in the Wardrobe, because that was one of the first earlier movies that I worked on, where I got to work on a lot of different uh, creatures and realistic animals. So I guess I'm giving you a bunch of them, but I guess the standout one, Jesus man, probably Hulk was a standout one for me, because I was just such a huge fan of. I mean, whenever I drew characters, they were always bulky, muscular, superhero type things, or women with big tits and nice and shit, comic book style.
Yeah.
So when I drew, whenever I did artwork, it was always comic book style stuff. So I guess Hulk, stands out as one of my most favorite, and also the bad guy in it too. But yes, I would say that stands out.
Um, when did you start working for Prana Studios?
Ah, well, I started working forcefully because when Rhythm and Hughes went bankrupt, an Indian company took us over about 4 years ago now, and I actually went to Mumbai, to be honest, to train up potential workers for 2 weeks for a couple of weeks. So that was like a few weeks ago, a few years ago, that Prana took us over. I'm not a huge fan of that, but that's what we had to deal with. And because I liked it how it was before that, and I don't care if my boss sees this and objects to it, but that's how I feel. But at the same time, it was a good experience to go over there and work with people who are motivated. I don't care where I go. When people really love what they want to do, I'm all for it. But I guess that was a longer answer than you asked for. But yeah,
Yes.
it was a few years ago.
Okay.
I, I liked Rhythm and Hughes before we got bought, is my opinion.
You kind of already answered this, but your first animation job.
Well,
Like, other
like
than
I
that
said, it
first
was
time someone handed you money for making an animation.
when I first. Well, let me put it this way: my breaking into the industry in Australia,
Hmm.
I was looking for jobs for about 2 years, and I applied for everything: games, companies. I'd been at a community college and created a show reel, just of your work that for a couple of minutes. I'm sure you know that that's really in the end is what gets you jobs, is
Yeah.
what you create as a show reel. My first job that I did was, like I said, a little. Well, I was working on a show that required bats to be animated. But there was a bunch of shows that were happening at the same time. But yeah, I have to say that was probably the first thing where I had to animate a bat. And bats aren't easy to animate, even though I've been doing it for 15 years. Bats are still, well, because recently I've been doing a lot of Game of Thrones, right?
Hmm.
So for the dragon. So that from my first days actually comes all the way back up. When we do a creature, we try to find something that's the most similar creature that exists, right?
Hmm.
That behaves a certain way. So I use reference. Reference is key. So the funny thing is with bats, yeah, we're about to get more Game of Thrones right now. but we utilize bats as a